Now, as we close, we must hear from Keith Bennett, who is the program manager for Flip the Script.
I always start off by saying God is good all the time. This mission and what you will see on the 5th floor above you in a few minutes is bigger than you and I or any one person. I learned through God's grace it's an assignment of a lifetime, an opportunity of a lifetime. I'd like to take a few moments to share with you my insight about my comments. As a child and young man, I often heard when God aligns the stars, special and great things happen. A few years before coming to Goodwill Industries, I was leading a life I believe was thoroughly entrenched for almost 20 years, following my passion and giving back to this community that assisted me in my maturation and development before I went on a career serving as a community advocate of youth, families, young adults less fortunate than myself. However, God challenged me. More importantly, he changed my heart, and he challenged my heart and my commitment to do more. And I remember when that happened because I was taught that the reward for good work is often more work. I underwent a spiritual change, a spiritual awakening that taken some years for me to really understand the mission that God intended for me to do. It's not through our own understandings that we find what God has in store for us, but it's through him and his wisdom. Previous to coming to Goodwill, I worked for an organization I truly loved for about 12 years, whose mission called for us to provide service to abused, neglected children and juvenile delinquents. I felt I had found my purpose in life. At the same time, God challenged my heart. Like many of us, I drove through the streets of Detroit and I visited schools throughout Detroit. I saw all of the negatives. However, after God performed his work on me, I was able to see every little thing quite differently. I was able to perceive the hope and the promise and the potential in young men that looked like me just a few years ago. God allowed me to see this city and its people very differently, and the neighborhoods. And I was able to now drive through the streets, and I could see despair and pain and hopelessness, but I also saw great potential, especially in men of color. As I quickly gained this ability to see and understand things differently, I was severely challenged again. My faith was tested. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, faith is like taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. I remember that the organization I worked for prior to coming to Goodwill, I was there almost 12 years, and they called me in one day and they said, we've been cutting back for a few years, about 3 years, and we're sorry, but we have to let you go. Just before that, a couple of months before that, my wife almost passed and was in rehab when I got this message that I no longer had a job. And as I'm driving home without a job for the first time in a long time, I did what I was taught to do, and that was go in prayer. And I said, God, you know my heart. You know what I want. You know what I need. I said, God knows I don't need to be unemployed. And I said, I have faith in you. And I only sent out about 5 resumes, and a few weeks later, Goodwill Industries called. And I went in for 2 interviews that I thought went extremely well. But I remember coming home, and my wife said, Keith, how did the interview go? I said, it went well. I'm pretty sharp, Adrian. I know how to handle interviews. She said, well, you got the job. I said, no, I don't think so. I said, because after me was a sharp young man with a 6-button suit on and shiny shoes, and he had the gift for the gab. I don't think I'm going to get it. And she said, well, just pray on it. And I didn't get the job. They sent me a letter and said we went in another direction. But see, I know that God has a way of making all things happen. 3 weeks later, I got a call, and the young lady said, hi, Mr. Bennett, this is Nakaya. You remember me? As a young, sweet voice. I said, no, I don't. She said, you don't remember me? I said, young lady, no, I don't. She said, well, I'm calling from Goodwill Industries, and we want to offer you the job. I said, well, I'm sitting at my desk now looking at a letter that you decided you didn't want me. She said, don't worry about that letter. She said, I was told to give you a call. And at the same time, the phone rang in, and it was another company that was calling me. And I asked her, could I put it on hold? She said, company called and said, we have a job for you. So I went from unemployed to 2 jobs. And so I told both callers, I said, can I have a few days to think about it? And they said yes. And I did what I was taught to do. I went into prayer. And through that prayer, God told me, I have a mission for you. And the second call was even for more money. He said, don't worry about money. This is your purpose. And so that brought me to Goodwill. And I'm still challenged each day by the assignment of a lifetime, because only a few understand what we're trying to do at Goodwill Industries with men of color. I was blessed to know that my faith is what we all need to rely on. But this is bigger than just me. It's about us. People who have come and gone for whatever reason have worked as part of this Flip the Script staff for the last 5+ years. The organizations and various community folks like Derek Blackman have been with us. The Thompson Foundation, who was our original funder. My first supervisor, Joe Evans. Goodwill's former president, Dolores Caldwell, who saw good in me when others didn't. Porty Homes Incorporated, Hudson Weber, the McGregor Foundation, the Ford Foundation, Michigan Department of Corrections, MPRI, the Joyce Foundation, Wayne County Jails and Courts, the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, 36th District Court, Circuit Court, Kresge Foundation, Skillman Foundation, LIST, and now United Way of Southeastern Michigan. Everywhere I went, people said yes when they could have said no.